Today we're diving into one of the most outrageous sitcoms in TV history, Married with Children. For over a decade, the Bundys made us laugh with their chaos, sarcasm, and dysfunction. But here's the thing. Behind the laughter were secrets most fans never noticed. From feuds and shocking set stories to Christina Applegate's hidden struggles, the truth was far messier than the jokes. And even Ed O'Neill himself has finally revealed what fans missed all along. Stick around because once you hear this, you'll never look at Married with Children the same way again. At the center was Al Bundy, played by Ed O'Neill. Once a high school football star, Al was now stuck selling women's shoes, bitter about life, but clinging to the memory of scoring 4 touchdowns in a single game at Pie. He loved his old 1972 Dodge Dart, his stash of big guns, and his favorite show, Psycho Dad. He hated his job, his bills, and his luck. But despite his constant complaining, Al remained the grumbling heart of the Bundy household. His wife, Peggy Bundy, played by Katie Sagal, was his perfect opposite. Lazy, glamorous, and always shopping with Al's money. Peggy refused to cook, clean, or work. Instead, she lived for talk shows, spending sprees, and mocking her husband's misery. Together, they were an unstoppable storm of sarcasm. Then came the kids. Kelly Bundy, portrayed by Christina Applegate, was the beautiful but dim-witted daughter who drove Al insane with her string of boyfriends. Bud Bundy, played by David Faustino, was smarter but equally hopeless. Obsessed with girls, his elaborate schemes always ended in disaster. Kelly and Bud constantly insulted each other, but beneath the fighting, they were fiercely loyal siblings. Adding fuel to the fire were the Bundys' neighbors. Marcy Rodas, later Marcy Darcy, played by Amanda Bears, was Al's ultimate rival. A feminist banker, she clashed with Al on everything from money to gender politics. Her first husband, Steve Rodas, David Garrison, was a straight-laced banker who eventually left to become a forest ranger at Yosemite National Park. Later, Marcy married Jefferson Darcy, played by Ted McKinley, a charming scammer with no job and questionable secrets, who somehow became one of Al's closest friends. The chemistry of the Bundys and their neighbors gave Married with Children its edge, but critics didn't hold back. The Los Angeles Times called it heavy-handed. The Washington Post slammed it as nasty-minded. And the New York Times labeled it loud, coarse, and vulgar. Yet, audiences loved it. They saw themselves not in perfection, but in the chaos. And by 2008, it was named one of Entertainment Weekly's TV classics. In 2022, an animated revival was even announced. Behind the scenes, things were just as wild. Comedian Sam Kinison, guest starring in Season 4, mooned the cast on day 1, then brought strippers to set on day 2. His clashes with director Jerry Cohen escalated until he allegedly pulled a gun. At one point, Kinison was even considered for Al Bundy with Roseanne Baird for Peggy before producers wisely chose Ed O'Neill and Katie Sagal. Even with the right cast, relationships weren't always easy. Ed O'Neill later revealed he had a long-running feud with Amanda Bears. The clash began when TV Guide did a cover shoot excluding Bears and David Garrison. They asked Ed to fight for them, but he refused, believing they were lucky to have a cover at all. Amanda never forgave him, and the tension lasted for years, even spilling into public feuds by the time of her wedding. Meanwhile, the cast admitted the atmosphere on set could be brutal. Katie Sagal once said, "You weren't safe. Turn your back and somebody would talk about you." Christina Applegate confirmed she often overheard people mocking her from just outside her dressing room. The environment was sarcastic, cutting, and at times deeply hurtful. At just 17, Christina Applegate faced immense pressure while playing Kelly Bundy. Cast as the show's sex symbol, she battled a secret eating disorder, often hiding to eat in fear of judgment. Applegate later admitted the role deeply affected her mental health. Interestingly, Kelly's iconic persona was Applegate's own creation, transforming the tough biker girl into a clueless, flashy character inspired by the decline of Western civilization, the Metal Years. While it brought fame, it also left lasting emotional scars. While Applegate endured private struggles, Ed O'Neill faced a different challenge. Fans adored him, but Hollywood dismissed the show as crude. He admitted the industry never respected Married with Children. Fans would tell him he reminded them of their brother, father, or uncle, but never themselves. And then, after a decade of success, the show came to an abrupt end. Shockingly, O'Neill didn't learn about the cancellation from the network. He found out from a newlywed couple at a bed and breakfast in Ohio. The groom recognized him, congratulated him on his role, then casually said, "We're so sorry about your show." O'Neill was stunned. That was how he discovered Married with Children had been canceled. Christina Applegate never got a call either. She heard the news through a chain of whispers. No farewell meeting, no goodbye gift, nothing. Ed later joked, "The Golden Girls got Mercedes-Benz's. We didn't get anything." After 11 seasons, the cast that carried Fox's first primetime sitcom into history wasn't even given a proper send-off. And that's the wild story behind Married with Children. A show that critics dismissed, but fans adored. A sitcom that dared to be raw, rude, and real. Even with all the scars and chaos, its legacy still stands tall in TV history. When Married with Children hit TV screens in 1987, it was a shock. People weren't used to a show where the family was so rude to each other. Al would come home from his awful job, slump on the couch, and complain about everything. Peg would tease him and spend his money. Kelly and Bud were always getting into trouble, and the neighbors, Marcy and Steve, added even more chaos. Fans loved it because it felt real, like families they knew who weren't perfect. But not everyone was happy. Some people thought the show was too crude with jokes about sex and money that pushed the limits. Fox leaned into it, saying, "This show isn't for everyone, but if you like to laugh, it's for you." That attitude helped the show find a huge audience, especially young people who loved its rebellious vibe. Then came 1989 and things got crazy. An episode called Her Cups Runneth Over aired in the 3rd season. In it, Peg drags Al to a store to find a bra she loves that's been discontinued. The episode had wild humor like a guy in a crown selling lingerie and jokes that were super racy for the time. A woman named Terry Ricalta from Michigan watched it and was furious. She thought it was inappropriate for TV and started a big campaign to get the show canceled. She wrote letters to companies that advertised during the show like Coca-Cola and Gillette asking them to stop supporting it. Many did and Fox got scared. They even pulled another episode, I'll See You in Court, where the Bundys and their neighbors sue a hotel for secretly filming couples. It was too much for 1989 TV and the episode didn't air until years later on cable with parts cut out. Ed O'Neill later said the boycott made everyone nervous. The cast and crew felt like every word they said was being watched. Katie Sagal remembered how tough it was to film scenes knowing people were upset. But here's the wild part. The boycott made the show more popular. Before the controversy, Married with Children was doing okay, ranking 48th in ratings. After Terry's campaign, people got curious and started watching to see what the fuss was about. From seasons 4 to 8, the show stayed in the top 50, becoming one of Fox's biggest hits. Fans loved the Bundys' rude, funny world, and the show proved that being different could make you a star.